But one way or the other, this could shrink the size of the state government, i.e. the Auditor State's office, as well as provide work directly to the local economy there and allow those local governments that actually pay for the audit to save money. Secondly, priority-wise, is to expand the performance audit division of the Auditor State's office. I don't think there's any candidate in this race who's not going to say this. The performance audits, if you think about it, a historical audit, maybe looking through a rearview mirror, I'm not even paying attention back there, Dave, looking out the back. A performance audit is more like looking directly through the windshield to see the future and try to help design systems that perhaps are more efficient. I won't go any further because we're running out of time. Third will really be to use the bully pulpit of the auditor's office to advocate for issues that are most important to each of us. I will say that generally speaking, that's going to be financially related. I will stop short of saying that I will never use the bully pulpit of the auditor's office for other things, i.e. to talk against healthcare reform, etc. Who will I look to hire staff? I think Mary Taylor's got a good office running, and the first order of business will be to do no harm in that regard. But I will be looking for people who are reform-minded, that will treat their customers like customers and clients, not just another bureaucracy. And certainly I'll be looking to many of the friends that I've developed across the state to lead that charge. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess in Congress you don't really have appointing positions, but let me just talk about the priorities. And I have the luxury of just a little bit of time to think here. The number one thing that we need in northeastern Ohio is economic development. It's the number one thing. It's the number two thing. It's the number three thing. What I don't really see is a cohesive, integrated strategy for bringing businesses bringing lawyers to northeastern Ohio, bringing some kind of economic. I would really relish the opportunity to lead the charge to organize the key political development and business heads to try to form some kind of commission to run to Washington with a list of focused priorities. There's 5,000 things we need in District 10. I'm not going to get 5,000 things. I'm not going to get $5 trillion for District 10. But I can go to Washington and I can get 50 of them. I can get 75 of them, and they can be the ones that really matter. I'd like to focus on there are a lot of things that we can do for job creation, job growth. We have one of the largest natural gas deposits in the world under the Great Lakes in a very, very vibrant natural gas field in northeastern Ohio. We're doing nothing about this. We're going to, so number one, let's work on economic development. I think the number two thing would be an energy policy that makes sense. I was really happy that finally someone in Washington opened up oil fields for drilling. We should have done that years ago. Now, I don't know if he's gone far enough, but we need an oil drilling policy, we need a natural gas policy, we need an alternative energy policy. We need a whole bunch of things that are just good. We need a nuclear policy. I worked in the nuclear industry for a couple of years. We are just subjugating ourselves to foreign suppliers of energy for this country, and it's absolute nonsense. We don't need to do that. So that's my number two issue. And I think my number three issue is education. I don't know, it's a toss-up between education and just government reform. My opponent is on the Congressional Committee for Oversight and Reform. I mean, isn't that great? We put this guy in charge of government oversight. We got a stimulus package that isn't totally spent, that was supposed to generate all this economic activity. It hasn't done anything for us. I think one of the first things we need to do is scale that back and stop spending the money. So either between that, I call it the tie between that and education. When I come out of a meeting where there's 300 people screaming and yelling every time a politician gets up and says, we're going to give you $2 billion for training, we're going to give you another $500 million for infrastructure development, we're going to, whatever it's going to be related to a certain group, a certain, I guess, favorite sector. We got to stop doing that. We don't have the money anymore. My time.
Thank you very much. Sandy?
Again, I don't just talk the talk, I walk the walk, and I ask that you look at our records. I'm going to run this Secretary of State office in the most effective and efficient manner, just like I did as county auditor. we do what is called a revaluation, where we go out and look at the market, put a value in property, and apply the millage to it. My last revaluation, I did it in less money than I was allocated. So I cut hundreds of thousands of dollars of checks to my political subdivisions, to which I got all these calls in shock, saying, what is this check for, and what line item should I put it in, and what's it for? I said, it's for the reval, because I did it with less money than I was allowed by government. They were just so pleasantly surprised, they never even knew you could do that. That's what's wrong with government, it has too much money. But let's go back to the voting. We have a problem right now with the current Secretary of State. Thank goodness she's going to be out of there, and we are not going to promote her to U.S. Senator. But she is administrator from top down. First of all, Ohio is so fortunate to have bipartisan boards of elections. And our state is so varied that you can't have one size fits all for really anything, particularly voting machines, voting technology. These boards have more education and more experience than any Secretary of State candidate currently running. I'm going to treat those boards with the trust that they deserve. I'm going to treat them like an asset and not a liability. They're going to be listened to. I'm going to take a lot of their recommendations. They'll buy into the process. But again, when you think about it, for every job at the Board of Elections that a Democrat does, there's a Republican right by their side. Look at our poll workers. I used to be a poll worker. These people are our neighbors and our friends. They get up at some terrible morning hour, work long hours for very meager pay because they believe in the system, and they should be treated with respect. I would like to increase Ohio's in-person early voting. I like Harris County, Texas, where they go out 17 days prior to the election. They had 50% of their voters vote early, and then they stop the Friday before the Tuesday. You have less long lines. It just makes the whole process a lot easier. I do believe in where a voter identifying themselves through a photo ID and not addresses. Most Americans are wholeheartedly for that. And if someone doesn't have a driver's license, then the state could put implementation in place to get them one so they still are able to vote. But I can go on and on about the office, but my time's up. So.
Thank you very much. Skip?
2 minutes, just not enough time. I like what Peter had to say. I like Peter, I'm a business guy. I've got extensive experience around the world, traveling all over Asia, South America, Mexico, North America, helping companies to do business. I know what their problem is, where their pain points are, where their challenges are. They're trying to compete on a global basis. What I would like to focus on, and by the way, I don't think there's enough business-related experience in our political system down in Columbus. We have too many politicians, too many attorneys. Not that I'm trying to take a shot at an attorney. We need attorneys. We need people who understand the legal system. But we don't have enough business thought in the House or in the Senate so that we can do the right things to encourage business to come to Ohio, to Cleveland. I get so upset when people tell me that they badmouth Cleveland. And we see articles that we just saw in Fortune magazine. What I would focus on is cleaning up some of the problems we've got right now in Ohio with the complexity of our various programs, with the cost, with the taxes. I want to focus on those sort of things. I applaud what Tim is doing with the workers' comp and a lot of the things that he's doing to try and reduce the size of government, reduce taxes and stuff. I think that the strength that I bring is some new ideas, some new thought, not a curt politician kind of a view, an outsider's view, if you will, to how to adjust things. And I'm used to solving complex problems, and we've got some complex problems in the state of Ohio, trust me. I've got a 100-day plan that I'm working on. Once I get through the primary, one of the first things that I'm going to do is I'm going to sit down with Tim, and I'm going to introduce him to some new thought. While he and I will agree on a lot of things, there's some things we disagree on. And I want to sit down with him and figure out how we can leverage both of our skill sets, both of our strengths, to really drive some, and I hate to use this word because it's been so screwed up by a president, change for Geauga County in northeastern Ohio. And with that said, I'm going to